It's early morning, we're back in the farm shed to get some more sorting done. It's a bit colder today, I've lit the fire. I thought in this episode we might have a look in some of the cupboards and what we've got to sort out yet, and maybe peek under some of the other benches that we haven't really looked and just see what we have ahead of us and if there's going to be much value or many treasures. Hey guys, Chris from the Ultimate Recycler. This is part 22 of the Great Farm Cleanup. I'm only got a couple of days, or I've only really got this morning to do some more sorting and pack the van. We're going to see Dad this afternoon, who's in care at the moment, for those that don't know. And I've only got a short window of opportunity each time I do a trip back home, about 4 hours drive, to clean up and get the whole place tidied up because it has been sold and we do have to eventually have it all spotless. So that's what we're up to. Quick rundown. Let's go and have a look in some of the cupboards along here and I'll show you what I've been sorting out, what I've been finding and how I've been sort of dealing with it. I'm trying to be mindful that a lot of you guys that happen to stumble across my videos may not have seen the series, may not be following my channel and wondering what the hell is going on. Well, all I can suggest is perhaps go back to the start of this playlist, the Great Farm Cleanup, and you'll see exactly what's going on. It's a big job and it will be ongoing. Many of you are following and know exactly what's happening, so apologies for repeating things at times. I've just been going along this bench. We've nearly got to the end wall on this side, getting it all sorted, and it's looking very sparse considering that I grew up here, and as a child this shed was always a clutter of wonderful treasures, and now that I'm older I realised it was a clutter of stuff and there wasn't a lot of wonderful treasures. But on a farm you do need lots of assorted hardware, but it is assorted. I just tipped this tin out here on the bench, and that's what I've been doing. I've been sorting stuff here. I don't want to just load all this stuff in the van, take it home and sort it at home because I don't have room. So I'm just going through these, and most of them are just scrap. There's a lot of old chain, just various bits of metal. There's lots of old bolts, some of which are damaged, some are very rusty. In amongst them we're finding brass. It's another brass plumbing fitting. That looks like a flasher unit from like an indicator flasher from out of a vehicle. It's not going to be any good. Offcuts of pipe, segments of agricultural sickle knives. That's the race from a bearing. No, I don't think that's brass. So yep, there's really not, that's a brass piece I think. So I've got my magnet handy to see what's brass and what isn't. But there's really nothing of any use here. And if we look in the next tub that I haven't tipped out yet, it appears to be much the same. Let's tip it out. So these are all countersunk bolts. Who knows where they came from? Someone put them in a tin, probably my grandfather, years ago, thinking they'd be handy one day, and they've just sat on the shelf ever since. They may have been reorganised into different tins, but I'd bet next week's wages that less than a couple have ever been used. So I'm going to put all these in the scrap metal. I figure if I ever want some bolts, I'll just buy the size I need. It's not worth the space to store them. What's that? Oh, that's a cigarette lighter power adapter. Just been chopped off there, a little bit of electrical wire. So as I'm going, I'm sorting these very quickly. I'm not mucking around. It's just sort of sort, scoop, put them in a tin, tip them into some drums I've got here, or some old drench drums that have been used for storage. So there's probably nearly 30 kilos of heavy steel in that. I've got another old drum here that had some sump oil in it. Well, a long time ago I just cleaned it out a little bit, so I'll use that for scrap as well. I've just punched some holes through the bottom so that it can sit outside. It won't matter if it gets rained on, it'll just drain. That one that was a kerosene tin that I found that was empty. So I've started putting scrap in that as well. And I'll load these in the van and take them, I'll take them back, but I won't unload them at home, and I'll probably do a scrap run very shortly, as I've said a few times. So in this episode, let's go along and open all these cupboard doors and just have a peek at what's inside. I've had a look in a couple. I don't think there's anything really interesting, but you never know. And we'll also just have a bit of a rummage under the actual main workbench over here. And then most of it's going to be scrap metal. Let's have a look under here now while we're here and just see what the sort of stuff I'm having to deal with. There's parts of old universal joints. That's just a clamp for for assembling pipe frames like scaffolding. There's a very early die or thread cutter bracket, I guess you'd call it. That looks like a brass bed knob, part of a bed knob. Coco's having a sniff around here. If you hear it snorting, it's not me, it's the dog. There's another old frame here. These were to take old thread dies, so you could rethread pipe. It would have been important to do in the early days of farming. Nowadays, most of the plumbing fittings are all poly pipe and PVC. They're not gel. There's brackets here of, oh, that looks like a little bit difficult one-handed. That looks like the over-center throw in and out of gear on a shearing plant. That's a part of an old binder I recognise. There's a roller off an early mower. Looks like there's an old generator in there. All sorts of bits and pieces that really it's pretty much all going to be scrap metal. Unless we find any old spanners and tools, most of it is just going to be scrap. But I'll sort through it all. I do sell lots of bits of interesting farm rusty metal pieces through the shop. People do use some of it for garden art, but most of this is not going to be in that category. It looks like there's an old jerry can at the back. So not much value, a lot of work, but we will get some scrap value out of it. The old drawers here are from a really early chest of drawers. I don't think they're cedar, they may be pine, but they would have been out of a chest of drawers that dated to the late 1800s, early 1900s, and they've been refitted in a steel frame here. And that looks like a whole heap of tube spanners, various bolts, spring off a trampoline. Looks like more plumbing fittings. So we're going to get a bit more brass, hydraulic end coupling. So lots of farming type stuff. And that's a wire strainer. All right, let's try and slide it in. It's very heavy. And I don't know what's in the one underneath. Looks like more pipe threading gear. Yeah, it looks like a pipe threader under there. That'll probably sell. This one we have some bronze bushes. I don't know what they're from. An old sharpening stone that's quite broken up. More plumbing fittings. And that's, yeah, very heavy. There's a lot of heavy metal stuff in those drawers. It's a wonder they've held together. Up at the back here, we just have, assorted hardware, and indeed it is assorted. There's really not much rhyme or reason. And a lot of workbenches, everyone understands workbenches do get cluttered when you're doing jobs, and it's not a priority to have a spick and span neat workshop. You don't make money on the farm by sitting in the shed and labelling tins of all different size bolts. But you do need to be a little organised, so there's some really old spanners up on the wall here. They will sell. There's an old turnbuckle, very early spanners. It looks like there's a wasp's nest or the remains of one. An old drench gun. What's in these tins? Saucepan lid. Just some clamps and shackles and fittings. And of course, a farmer by his very nature is a general repairman. So, as I do, Dad's also done a lot of repairing of various things over the years that aren't necessarily farming related. There's some sheep shears that are probably okay to sell. That looks like a gear puller of some sort. May even be homemade. Toolboxes, the air compressor still runs, so that's a good unit. We'll sell that at some stage. All right, let's have a look in the cupboards along the back. Now, we looked in the old safe yesterday. This cupboard has, what have we got in here? Some caster wheels off something. There's, this looks quite old. It's an old, looks like an early Black & Decker drill. Is it Black & Decker? Yes, it is. Good old cast aluminium drill. It looks like the cord's been repaired a few times. It'll probably be scrapped. They're not a rare appliance, those. There's a lot of them around. Some second-hand bearings in here. It looks like the guard from a PDO shaft. The plastic on this container's had it. What else is in here? Nice old pulley. So there could be some interesting little bits and pieces, but there'll also be a lot of scrap metal. What's in the box down the bottom here? Oh, we have some pulleys and wheels. Not sure what. Oh, that's possibly a washing machine pulley, that one. That's a guard off a grinder, it's cast aluminium. A flat belt pulley. Alright, so some of those will possibly sell, but not much value. We have a bucket of second-hand nails, of which I will sort these. The bolts are heavy enough to go in the heavy melt steel. The nails will just go into tins that I'll take out to the transfer station here as pressing steel. Excuse me, Coco. She loves getting in the cupboards. We have more wheels here. That's a nice heavy wheel, that one. There's the tyre's a bit no good there. There's an old tin in here. What's in the tin? Looks like a 50s or 60s biscuit tin. Okay, what's in here? Fishing gear. Alright, some old weights and hooks in there. A fishing knife for honest fishermen and for dishonest fishermen. So I guess when you're telling your friends how large the fish was, you could measure it from whichever side suited your personality. It doesn't look to be much in there. Some fishing gear can be quite sought after. Old reels, bakelite reels. Some of the old lures are quite valuable. Doesn't look to be much in there really, except some scrap lead. Come on, Coco, out the road. What have we got in here? Nothing much. Looks like it was part of a little blowtorch thingo that went on a little gas canister. So that's just the accessories. Up the top we have the remains of a circular saw. Oh, it looks complete, but it looks pretty rough. There's no blade. So I don't know if that will be any good. It's a Hitachi one. This is some sort of torch. Oh, it's a air compressor. It's a kit that goes with your car, but it looks like it's been broken. There's the little gas cylinder kit. Oh yeah, that's nice. That's quite a usable little kit for a bit of gas heating work or brazing or something. All right, so nothing terribly exciting in there. Let's look in the next one. Okay, what's in this one is a little bit awkward to do down here. It's a pressure pump. I don't know if that goes or not. I might have to ask Dad about that. A Davy pump. Another good solid wheel. A UHF radio. We used to use those in the farm equipment, so that's probably still okay. There's an old engine down here. I think this is a Cooper engine. Oh, just heavy. Cast iron. It sits on the base. If I remember rightly, the base of these engines is actually the fuel tank. It doesn't have a muffler on it of any sort. And another wheel. So that might be a nice old engine to get going. The spark plug's clearly broken. But it's pretty hard to do this with this dog. She wants to be the centre of attention everywhere. I'll take that engine home because it might be a good project one day. I know I've got lots of small engine projects, but I do plan to get to them when I have room in my shed. What's in this bag? Possibly just rags. Yep, so that will be handy. We will use those as we're cleaning up. So this cupboard should empty out fairly quickly. Let's look in the next section. Oh, that one's locked. That side's open. More rags. Oh, what's down the bottom? We're running out of light over this side of the shed. We have... Oh, that's some old party lights. Well, they're not going to be any good at all. In fact, we can just chop the fittings off and the cord can go in the scrap. It looks like a bit of a leather apron in there. I'm not sure what's... Do we have a key? Let's see if we can get into this side. Found a key. Let's go in. Have a look in this side. Looks like more rags. Why would you lock rags up? Okay, so that's fine. We'll get through that cupboard pretty quickly. This cupboard hasn't been here for decades. I think I remember Dad putting this cupboard in. It came from a local hall when they remodelled their kitchen, so he thought it'd be a good idea to make a nice long workbench and storage out of it, which he did. So it shouldn't take long to clean this out. Looks like we have some old paint in this one, which we'll have to take to the transfer station to be recycled. That's a really early leather attaché case. What's down the bottom here? Oh, I think they're hangers for a curtain with little rollers. This may have been part of the local hall's original curtains that might have been replaced. Not sure, it's very dark in there, sorry if you can't see much. Some balls of baler twine, more old paint, and oh look, some of these mats. My grandfather used to make these mats. If we can get a couple of them out, there's a whole heap of them here. I'm going to take these back to the shop and sell them. He plaited hayband and then wove it into mats. So how's that for repurposing? So there's a whole heap of them. I can remember him sitting in the sun out in the workshop shed here, and just using up old hayband, tying it all into one long length and then plaiting it and then weaving it into mats. So I guess you could use them on the floor of the car or at the back door or something. So that's pretty cool. This one almost looks like it's a basket. I'm not sure if it was meant to be or it might have just curled up. So there, great repurposing there. So I'll take them back to the shop. That's it for those cupboards. So it shouldn't take too long to get all those cupboards cleaned out. It's certainly not as messy as under the other workbench over the other side. And around this side, we do have a lot more clutter. There's some really old drawers here out of something else that have been reused just for storage. And I will save the drawers, and I'll put a photo up now of some of the ones I took back one other time. And I've taken these to the car pressure wash, given them a good clean. And my girls are going to use them in their cafe, mounted up on the wall, just for displaying, you know, jars of preservatives or natural products that they might sell. And it'll be a really nice rustic look. So there's more here, a couple of great big ones. There's another old drawer there. You can't beat the old timber, 100-year-old, such a beautiful early historic look. It just can't be reproduced. So they will be saved and put to use. Now, I forgot to also look in this army box. I was going to do that while we're over this side. I'm not sure if I can get into it one-handed. We've got brackets on each end. Let's got that one off. So I'm not sure what's in this one. I'm a bit hesitant to guess. It might be plumbing fittings. I can't get under there. Maybe we can lift up from this side. It might be old tools. It might be fencing gear. Not sure. Let's have a look. Oh, it's welding rods. All right, well, that's not very exciting at all, but it's a nice old box. I don't think these old rods are going to be any good. They've probably been damp. They're big, heavy welding rods. All right, well, I think that our value there is just in the box. It's probably a $25, $30 army box. And again, all I'll just do with that one is take it to the car wash in the Gambia and just give it a pressure wash. So it cleans them up very quickly, and it makes for something that will sell very quickly. Well, I've been home from the farm for a few days, and I've emptied the van out mainly, well, all the stuff I need to sort. So there's only really the scrap metal in there. Let's have a look at that. So there's a bit of weight in there now. Most of those buckets and tubs have at least 30 kilos in there. So I will be rounding up some more I've got here and hopefully get a fair weight of heavy steel. There's a few other bits as well. And still a couple of things I have to sort out. And then we'll probably load up some brass and whatever and do a scrap run to Melbourne later this week. But as far as wrapping up the farm video for this week, that's what I've brought back, and I need to unload it before I go back to the farm, probably next week. And in the trailer is all the recyclables, empty bottles, jars, tins. There is so much of this sort of stuff at the farm just in cupboards because, you know, it was going to be handy one day. Oh, that was my cream bottle from my coffee on the way home. But this can all be recycled, and I've mentioned before that the council over there doesn't actually have a recycling service, or they do have a curbside recycling bin like we do here. We have a yellow bin here, but apparently due to whatever reasons it just goes into landfill at the moment, whereas at least our bin here in this council, the cardboard, glass and paper and plastics do get recycled. So it's not a problem to bring it back with me because it doesn't weigh very much, and I usually have plenty of room in the van with good weight. So I might as well bring all this recycling back here and put it into our bins. So we'll call this finished episode. I think this was 22 of the Great Farm Cleanup. I will be home this week. I'll probably be back at the farm next week. I will be doing a scrap run later this week, so look out for that video as well. And I might even do another episode of the farm cleanup with regards to some of the stuff that I've brought back, just cleaning up, value adding and selling in the shop, and just, you know, helping get rid of all that and give a bit of money back into mum and dad's kitty. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.